Dr. Vicky, only on LA Talk Radio.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is Flush Your Fat for Good, and I'm Jackie Paget Baird.
And I'm Dr. Vicky Arcady.
And we have
Rafael Escobar.
Hello.
Hello.
We're going to be
Thanks
talking
for coming.
all day.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
We are a lifestyle for a lifetime. This is not about a diet. We are actually promoting a way to learn how to feed yourself, actually the way you should have been fed after you were weaned. But this is about targeting digestion, absorption, and elimination for safe, rapid fat loss so that you never crave sugar and starches again, so that you sleep deeply, you think smarter, and you are in a better mood. And the thing is, when you diet, that's, something you do for a short period of time. 30, 60, 90 day, right?
Yeah.
Some people go, I'll do it.
Short.
Temporary.
I'm just going to do it for, 6 months. But the thing is, because I got a party that night, or there's going to
Vegas. July is
Vegas.
coming.
Yeah, right,
Vegas.
baby.
Vegas,
I'm going to
baby.
hit Vegas and get that bikini on, babe. But after that, and then I'm going to eat the whole time I'm there.
Yeah.
And then when I come home, I have to start the diet over again.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not what this is about. This is about going and doing whatever you want to do, but you know how to do it right. And you don't struggle ever again. You don't gain. You don't do the yo-yo. You don't get so out of control that now you're going to try desperate things. Some of the desperate things we've all done, such as the watermelon diet. You ever hear about that one?
No, that sounds crazy.
Hard-boiled egg diet.
Yeah. Pineapple diet. You ever do that
diet.
one?
Yeah.
There's a cabbage diet, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Somebody
The
was
pineapple diet, you do it till your tongue bleeds. When your tongue bleeds, you've gone too far.
Yeah.
You stepped over.
Or then there's the starvation. I think I'm
yeah.
going to fast, and then I'm going to eat,
That's
and then
the
I'm going to
worst.
fast. The worst.
Yeah. It's
That doesn't
terrible.
work.
And then you wind up so hungry, and your body is starving that you're stressed, and your cortisol, is released to put fat on your belly. You're a mess.
And your metabolism is at zero.
Right.
Because you're starving.
But there's all different kinds of things too. Let me work out till I drop dead. But that's not what this is about. Flush Your Fat for Good, to be lean and healthy for life, is to learn how to feed your body the way God made it, based on biochemistry and physiology. And you never have to wonder what you're going to eat, how you're going to eat it, and when you're going to eat it ever again. This is a lifestyle for a lifetime. We call it health by design, not by default. The default is the shortcuts, the drive-through.
No preparation.
No,
You just wing it.
or the microwave dinners, or the quick meal replacement, or the quick protein bar, or whatever. That's default. Going through the McDonald's line. But health by design is your health is really based how you feed your body according to the way it was made. And it's amazing what happens to you after about 3 days, 72 hours, once you start applying it. And something's happening right away. But the first week, you start really seeing it. Your clothes are looser, you have more energy, you're sleeping different. If those of you that have blood sugar irregularities, you start to see a better balance. People that are not happy or grumpy, they start to see a better mood because they're feeding their body appropriately. And when you digest, absorb, and eliminate properly, your digestion is going to allow your absorption to take in more nutrients to feed your entire body, to build, repair, maintain the integrity of all your bone, your blood, your tissues, your hormones, all your organs. That's where you get the food really to play a role in keeping your body healthy, because your digestive tract, your immune system is 70 to 80% in your gut. So if you are not digesting, absorbing, or eliminating properly, when I say elimination, okay, let's just get a grip here. It's got to be 3 to 4 bowel movements a day.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. And
Clean.
Yeah. Do you ever talk to people and say, it's not usual. Hi, my name is, how are you doing? How many times do you poop a day? It doesn't work that way. You don't really talk to people.
No.
But if you're really wanting people to be healthy, you've got to say the magic words or the forbidden words, I guess, bowel movements. And it's really important that many people only have one a day or maybe one every other day. They think they're doing good with 2 a day. Really, the greatest thing on the planet is to have 3 to 4.
People don't know that.
They don't.
Yeah.
That's why
They
I'm saying
think,
it.
they just think one time, once or twice a week is normal.
A week?
Uh-huh.
Oh,
my
yeah.
Oh,
goodness.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's a rough
Oh,
way to live.
Listen, I had that on my intake forms in my office.
Oh,
Remember
man.
that?
Yeah.
That's one of the first questions I think I asked on one of my forms. And how many bowel movements do you have? And it was like,
Yeah, and the problem is a lot of people don't want to talk about it, but that is the problem. Because if you are not digesting properly, if you are not absorbing your nutrients properly, and you're not eliminating properly, and I believe that's the up-and-coming cancer today over lung cancer, colon cancer. It's one of the biggies. And we all have to keep our pipes clean. So, but that comes with the proper diet, the lifestyle
Yes.
of how you eat, and also specific supplements that help to supplement with what's missing. People say, well, what do I take? We have it listed in our book, the recommended supplements, and some people think that you don't need supplements, but you really do because of the deficiencies of the soil, and we'll be talking about that much later. But when you walk into a health food store, then you see 4,000 supplements on the wall and the shelves, and you don't know which ones to take.
Heck no.
You take the
Yeah.
ones that are missing, but if you're not educated on what is missing out of your diet, then that's why you can learn from us. And you go to fleshyourfat4good.com, download the workbook, and we'll talk about that later as well. And get this book, and it'll explain the supplements that you should be taking and how you should be eating. Yes.
Ta-da, this is the workbook. Our published book should be coming out
After the first
after
year.
the first of the year. So we're looking to have forward to having those in the bookstores.
Yeah. All right.
And on
so
Amazon. I think we're going to have it on Amazon too.
we're going to go into Dr. Vicky's segment right now.
Are you through choking?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm
No
dying over
problem.
here.
I know what that's like.
Oh my
I
God.
was going to mute you or say,
I was like,
you
how
can
to hold
leave
it
if you want
in.
and
No,
go for
I
it.
did that at a wedding once. I was the
Oh, you
maid
were
of
the
honor.
singer?
No,
Oh.
I was the maid of honor, and I was doing it like that. You what? You don't like the bride or something?
Yeah.
And then I did do that singing once. Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, it's not fun.
No, but that's okay.
We're over it now.
You're
We
good.
made it. We survived.
You can leave and
Yeah.
go for it out there and come
Security.
back.
Yeah.
So anyway, Dr. Vicky has a segment every week that we do this podcast because she's the huge researcher. Like I always tell everybody, if you want to know something, ask her about it, but you won't hear back from her for about 6 weeks. So, we're going to do a segment today on
Exercise.
Did you know that?
All right.
And so, yeah, and that's
favorite
right up
my
your alley.
Well,
I'm ready.
in Flesh Your Fat for Good, we have the entire blueprint. We have 8 pillars. We include what you should eat, how you should eat it, when you should eat it, and we try to help your body get into the fat burning process, which is nutritional ketosis, which is our first pillar.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you saw any of our previous podcasts, we had food combining. We're going to do one on nutrifying pretty soon, and that'll be coming out in one of our next ones. And then another pillar that's very important is exercise and sleep. We added sleep as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Exercise and sleep. So, when you're in a lifestyle, you have to include everything. You have to include what exact foods you're going to be eating, and that's what we do. We want you to learn everything so that you're going to put it in there. You're going to be studying it. It's going to be a learning curve for you. You're going to, it's going to be times where you're not going to get it, but then you'll get it. It takes about 2 weeks, I would say. Mm-hmm. And then once you understand what it is and you know how to pick foods and you know how to read labels and you know what's good and you know what's bad and you know what combination of foods are good, once that is up here, it's there forever. Like Jackie said, it's like riding a bike.
Yeah.
You'll never forget it. Honest to God, you'll never forget it. And as you practice it and do habitual ritual every single day, you'll know what to do. So we want you to understand that this is for the long haul. We want you to commit, and as you commit, you'll be able to recover from any kind of bad choices you make or partying you do or Las Vegas trips.
Yeah.
We don't suggest that you purposely, go out and eat badly and make bad choices just because you want to have a good time, because that's not the truth. You can still eat very well according to our lifestyle and have a great time.
Right.
Right?
Yep. There's
And-
no need to
No.
hurt yourself with bad food to
No.
have a good time.
And we
It's
have
not worth it.
No. And it's we have phase 1 and phase 2, which if you've been listening to us, you know. Phase 1 is the rapid fat loss, and phase 2 is what,
The
we're
continued
on,
lifestyle.
Yes, we've been on that for basically
Years.
for years.
Yeah.
But when things get rough and stress occurs, and emotional stress occurs and all that, it's your body's going to put on reserves. So one of the hormones is called cortisol, and you're going to puff up. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. Your body is going to put on reserves so that you can handle stress. The body's smart. It knows what to do to protect its goods. So we can't, outwit the body, really, because it's controlled by a higher power and innate intelligence and a universal intelligence that predicts what needs to be done and how it should be done. However, if you eat certain foods and you follow certain peoples, like the Inuit tribes in
Alaska.
and Siberia, way up north, they have been in nutritional ketosis for thousands and thousands of years. So we follow what they do to emphasize that it's safe. Everybody does it up there, and they've been doing it since forever because they don't have certain foods. So we wanted to emphasize that, and they're solid muscle.
Yep. Talk
And-
about exercise.
Yes, and
You
all
know,
they do is
Alaskans,
exercise.
That's all they
Lift
do.
this stuff all day.
Yeah.
So we know, most of us do know enough to know that exercise is important, and especially when you're in a diet program or you're in a weight loss program, they recommend exercise because, as we learned last week, if you don't exercise, you could lose your bone,
Yeah.
especially if you're on the starvation, low-calorie, calorie-restricted diets. So with Flesh or Fat for Good, we want to create a lifestyle to include exercise as one of the 8 pillars, which is, mandatory and what we suggest for our lifestyle. So we decided, okay, what kind of exercise should we do? And I did some studying, of course.
Yes.
And
we're all exercisers. I mean, I was a gymnast.
I'm a
You-
tomboy.
Trainer.
You're a trainer.
I'm a tomboy. So are you.
Yeah. You do
I'm a
everything.
big league tomboy.
You were tennis, right?
Tennis team.
Yeah.
I was out in the street with the boys.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I never had a doll.
No,
that
my
I
mom said,
ever
come
played
home when the sun goes down.
I wanted-
And I was in the streets.
I
throwing
wanted
balls.
balls and
you go.
skateboards and bikes and bats and
It's a new,
gloves.
it's a new day and age. That
Yeah.
doesn't
Yes.
exist very much no more.
No,
Yeah.
my dad, I was taking him to the doctor, and he was looking in the car. He's saying, "Don't kids play outside anymore?"
No.
I
Right.
says, "No,
They
they
don't.
don't.
Mm-mm.
No, they play with this now
Yep.
Right.
and this."
Yeah.
So
But let me interrupt real quick.
Mm-hmm.
We have a lot of buddies. We call the people on our Flesh or Fat for Good, our lifestyle. They're all buddies. We're all buddies.
yes,
And when we go into the private Facebook room, which is Flesh or Fat for Good Buddies, which we really want you guys to join us, you would not believe how many people don't exercise.
Oh,
They haven't
amazing.
exercised
Ever.
in years.
Yeah.
They
you know that.
Oh,
You see it all the
100%,
time.
As
every
a
day.
trainer, you get people that,
Yeah, the
let's-
thing is life gets in the way, right?
Right.
And every excuse in the book comes out.
But so many, they don't even think about it. They don't
No.
even want to do it.
It never becomes the thing is there's no value to it.
No
there's,
value,
There's no reason
exactly.
to do it.
Right.
Until it's too late.
Right.
or
Yeah.
until they're taught what's the value.
One of
you
the
know?
two.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So we had to come up with
We had to
something
come up
that
with
was
something that people could do, and something that's warranted, that's valuable, that's validating, that's not
that you can do 5 days
you know,
a week at
and
least.
Yeah.
well, not even that. I mean, if we knew of a perfect exercise to do 2 times a week, we'd recommend it if
Right.
that
Yeah.
was the ticket. But what happened was, in April 2015, there was a large scale study done that tried to emphasize how much exercise is too little, too much, or just right to improve health and longevity. So
Okay.
the researchers, they wanted to know if extreme exercise was harmful. They found out that it was unlikely to be harmful. So extreme exercise is
Not.
unlikely to be harmful.
Yeah.
So what else they found out is that they took in 2 continents. They took 661,000 people here. The Journal of American Medical Association, Internal Medicine, together with the National Cancer Institute at Harvard University, they did 661,000 adults.
That's a lot.
Mostly middle-aged. They took data on them, questionnaires, and they followed them for many, many years. I think 14 years or something like that. And then in Australia, they did another study, 200,000.
Okay.
And they wanted to see what the best exercise was for these people and what would help them to live longer, But we all know that any kind of activity is good. So if you're, for example, one of our Power 100 heroes and you're 350 pounds or you're really, really overweight, it's out of control for you and you're feeling really bad and you're not feeling well and your joints are not good, we don't want you to do what we're going to recommend, which is what they've recommended is 150 minutes of walking. So you do 30 minutes of walking 5 times a week.
Yeah.
They said, or equivalent. So you could do, break it up into 4 days a week, but 5 days a week is better because the more frequent you do it, and you can do more, but 100. We ask our buddies to do 150 minutes, equivalent of 30 minutes 5 times a week, just walking.
But if you are one of our Power 100
Right.
heroes or you want to join us, that's for 100 pounds over. And of course, we don't count pounds, we count inches, because when you get on the scale, it's equal bone, fat, and muscle.
Yeah.
So unless you have a DEXA scan. But really, it's for people that, we have people that are up to 550
Yes,
pounds.
we do.
And they're bedbound. They lose a significant amount in the first year, and then they're on a walker, then they're walking, and we have specific exercises for them. And this is why, Rafael, we want you to help us with our bedbound Power 100 heroes, because obesity is a huge issue around the world, and there's so sediment that they can't leave the bed or the couch or whatever. And once they
Yes.
start losing, then they can move. But what Dr. Vicky's saying is you could hurt your joints if you're going to walk too much on them if you're not prepared. So there's certain things with resistance bands and certain exercises
And
that
move
you
in
can
bed.
do.
You move your legs, and in our room we have a bunch of different suggestions that are in our files, and you could just search for it in there. Ways to exercise if you're in bed or you can't walk yet. This is something you can just do sitting down. Stand up, sit down. Anyway,
Right.
all those kinds of things. But I want to tell you what the researchers found. Using the data, the researchers tracked these adults based upon the amount of time that they exercised. So those that did not work out at all to below the recommended amount. So didn't work out at all or below. Those that worked out a moderate amount, the recommended 150 minutes per week, and those that exercised 25 hours per week. 3.5 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Jesus.
Sounds like your sister.
Yeah.
That's intense.
10 times, 10 times the recommended
Yeah.
amount, okay? Again, they wanted to see if extreme exercise was damaging to the body, okay? And then they compared 14 years of death records.
Wow.
Oh, Jesus.
So they went serious.
Yeah.
So here's what they found out. People who did not exercise had the highest risk of early death. That makes sense, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Of course.
If you do not move, everything will slow down. And, I just posted something in the room, I believe this last week, that not getting up and having activity and sitting all day long every day is a higher risk of death than cigarette smoking. And the incident, people smoking cigarettes is going down. People are not smoking cigarettes anymore.
No, but they're sitting more.
But they're sitting
They're
more.
more sediment.
And it's
Not
killing
knowing.
them, okay?
Yeah.
It's killing
Even
them.
starting at young age.
Yeah.
Those who exercised a little, not meeting the requirements of 150 minutes per week, but just doing something, lowered their risk of premature death by 20%.
It's incredible.
So that's just
Yeah.
get
That's
up
the
and
value,
do something.
you know,
Of
when
course.
you're talking
Yeah.
about the value.
It's your life.
Get
Yeah.
up and do something. The group that met the guidelines, they had greater benefits, of course. They did 150 minutes per week, and they reduced their premature death by 31%.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's 11% more than the non-active group, or
Yeah.
the group that did just a little bit. The group that worked out 3 times the recommended amount, 450 minutes per week, reduced their risk of premature death by 39%.
No, look at that.
So,
35 to 39.
Then
was it?
those who did not, then those who did not exercise. So
Okay.
for me, the recommended is 8% less, which is nothing. I mean, it's almost the same amount.
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost 10% more lowers your risk. But I mean, I guess that's a lot. But for me, it's like, wow,
Wow.
if you're having a bad month or a bad week, you can just say, oh God, I didn't make the 150 this week, so
Exactly.
I reduced my risk by
Yeah.
2%. Oh. Okay. After this, the benefits plateaued, and by 39. Let's see, the benefits plateaued, but did not reduce. So those that were extreme, exercising 10 times higher than the recommended guidelines of 150 minutes per week,
Yeah.
did not decrease or increase their risk.
Ah.
Yeah.
Their risk was equal to those working out 3 times the recommended amount.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you? It tells you that extreme exercise, for me, it tells me the only reason I would do extreme exercise is if I wanted to be a babe on the beach in a bikini, like in my 20s.
Yeah.
And you can do that, But
And
if
it's not harmful, though.
and it's not harmful.
Right.
Yeah.
But if I just want to get the maximum, I can exercise, 450 minutes per week and get 8% more than doing it just 150 minutes per week.
Yeah.
So, you can weigh that out. But it's very interesting because now we have 2 continents, 2 different studies, almost 1 million people, 815,000 people over 14 years.
Mhm.
We have data here.
Right.
So this is why in Flush Your Fat for Good we recommend 30 minutes of walking 5 times a week. And this doesn't mean that you leave the house and you go and you walk to Starbucks and get yourself an organic coffee, sit down for 5-10 minutes and drink it, and then continue your walk.
Right.
No, this means nonstop,
It's with
continuous,
purpose.
with purpose.
Purpose.
And you have to be able to talk while you're walking.
Right.
You don't want to be out of breath. You don't want to be like a race walker, because that's not going to help you at all.
You want to take in the oxygen because the oxygen will go to the muscle. The muscle's going to help you to burn that fat. But brisk walking is great too because you want to get that lymphatic system going.
So guess what?
What?
Exercise, because of the gravity involved, walking,
Right?
you're going to increase your bone
Bones.
mass,
Yeah.
your bone density. I remember one of my best friends, Barbara. She was pregnant with her 3rd baby, and it was very difficult for her to get the weight off. And she is my tennis partner when I get to play. But she and I went over here to the Balboa golf course and on Balboa and Burbank. And it's about 3 miles, and it's an hour walk. And we walked that every day. And she, postpartum, she couldn't get the weight off. So we walked that every day, and that weight just peeled off of her. It just melted, and she was astounded. That was, oh gosh, that was 20-something years ago that we got that light bulb. Oh my God, walking is the key. And then, you know, when you walk for exercise like this, and you go to, say, amusement park, or you go shopping in a mall and you're walking, or you go to an event and you're walking, the brain is triggered. Okay, we're exercising, let's burn the fat. We gotta start burning fat. So you trick the brain that way into start to burn the fat because you're continuous. That's why it's important to be continuous.
Yeah. And
take your time. If you can't do it, excuse me for interrupting, you want to just go. And if it takes longer than 30 minutes, but you're not in pain and you can still do it, just go. Go for an hour, 45 minutes if that's how long it takes you. And I always recommend, if you can't do much, go in front of your house and walk down the sidewalk the length of the next house and come back and see if that can work for you. You start slowly. Right, Rafael?
No, absolutely. Another thing, too, that you mentioned there was pain, right? And what'll happen oftentimes if you're overweight and you try to just step outside and walk, your knees will hurt, your ankles will hurt, your back and hip will hurt, which is why with the creation of something in home, which we can definitely, talk about and create through further resistance exercises such as just sitting up and standing down, that will maybe even incentivize you guys to, walk or exercise a little more, because the walking is good, but if you're walking 150 minutes a week and you're extremely overweight, it's probably going to take a toll on your body pretty quick, which then can in turn demotivate you, and then you're like, oh, no, I don't want to do this, right? So a combination, the science is awesome, and I think it's 100% valid, but a combination of some resistance training with the walking is highly, highly critical.
Well, that's what we recommend after you are able to accomplish this and you're able to do more exercise. We recommend the resistance. You have to add the resistance and a little bit of aerobic. There was also another study that said 2 days a week, if you do resistance exercises, you're going to save yourself from getting brain deterioration, brain dementia, and you're going to have a healthier brain. Also, if you have aerobic twice a week, where what I recommend is like when we swim in the summer, you swim some fast laps and then you just swim, or walking.
Running.
I go hiking where I have to go uphill, and it's aerobic part of the way, and that is going to increase your longevity even more and that's another study that was done. But with our buddies, I recommend, and we recommend, if you're bed bound, you get the bands or you start incorporating, because why? Muscle burns fat.
Yeah, absolutely, right? And you're creating muscle, and ultimately too, it's a feeling of power and strength that kind of comes over you, right?
Yeah.
And you need that momentum to continue going.
But you feel
you
feel better with your daily life. You feel that you're stronger.
So let me interject here. Flush Your Fat for Good. We have 8 pillars. You'll see it in the workbook. You'll see it on the website.
FlushYourFatForGood.com, and it's $15.95. So you might as well just check it out.
That's cheap.
That's so cheap.
100% worth it.
I'm telling you.
So,
and you'll be able to see the pillars that we have. That is the strength and the foundation of this lifestyle. But that was one of our pillars, which is exercise and sleep. You got to have sleep, 7 hours to 8 hours. I'll just quickly tell you, they did a study with rats, and they took the rats and they kept the rats up all night and all through the day with lights, and then the other rats, that group, had 7 to 8 hours of dark, and the ones that were kept up all night, and then the ones that were able to have dark time, which was about 7 to 8 hours, and they were the more slender rats. So my whole life is based on rats. But I mean, sleep is
Slender
so
rats.
important.
God help you.
Slender rats,
right.
not just.
So we're going to work with you because you're going to help us with helping some of our bedbound people with some of the exercises for the resistance bands, their legs, their arms,
We should
and
do
things
a video.
like this. Yeah, and we could do a video.
We could do a video.
But I want to interview you a little bit because you're new at this with us, but we are very excited about the potential with you. And, you're a personal trainer.
Yes.
You're in you're Westlake, right? Westlake, Thousand Oaks area.
Thousand Oaks, yeah.
What's the name of your gym?
So it's M6 Fitness is one, and then the other one I work at is Equinox. So
Okay,
two
good.
gyms.
So
Yeah.
you have clients that you train.
Correct.
Okay.
Clients and group fitness. So I deal with a lot of people.
So then you got involved with Kathy Costolazzo doing some
Correct.
body wraps, and she said, no, you have to not just do this, you have to do flush your fat for good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So here you're working out, and you know how to work out because you're a personal trainer, and you're working with your clients, but then you're incorporating the flush your fat for good lifestyle.
Yeah.
And what happened? Well, before you tell me that,
I'm so excited.
I want everybody to know where you came from.
Absolutely. So I'll tell a little bit more about myself. So I'm originally of Salvadorian descent, and the reason why I mentioned that is my parents are immigrants to this company, right? Or to this country. And coming here, I grew up on a diet, as you know, kind of typical to the American lifestyle, right? Nothing but fast food, and everything was cheap, right? Growing up, we didn't have very much money. Grew up in a very poor neighborhood, poor area, and what ended up happening was my mother very proudly works at Burger King. My father is a janitor, and whatever was easiest and whatever was cheapest was what we ate. So I grew up from the age of 7 to 15 eating Burger King literally every single day. And by the time I was 15 years old, I reached a weight of 250 pounds, and I was 35% body fat. And I will tell you this much, and I'm sure we all out there.
That's hard to believe.
That's hard.
It was unbelievable. And every single one of us out there has experienced the time between middle school and high school, everyone out there, where you know how self-conscious you are, you know how much you're comparing yourself, and you know those feelings that you have.
You're looking at girls.
And and that molds you from that point on and for the rest of your life. And if you're not aware, you start to develop these patterns and these ways of thinking that kind of predict how you're going to be, right? But that can change. So that's how I grew up, and there was a couple of instances where, during PE, I'd get held up in front of the class, get weighed, get my body fat measured, and a lot of things, right? So then eventually that led to me taking control of my life. I was 14 years old, and it was a New Year's resolution, and I was just like, I'm done. Like, I'm over it. Like,
really?
I cannot.
Wow.
Yeah.
All by yourself?
All by myself.
Nobody talked you into that?
No one whatsoever.
So that was mind over matter, right?
100%.
There.
I made the decision through a series of events of just conversations where I was just like, this is over. So at the age of 14, I told my parents, stop taking me to Burger King. As much as I loved it, I was like, I cannot go anymore.
Good for
and
you.
then I just took, I took on a lifestyle where I was just eating what they were making at home and just not just eating until I was full. But beyond that, I became obsessive with working out. It was just my thing, right? So through high school, I began to play football, began to play rugby, and then I went to college, and then after college, I got a job, and I actually have a degree in environmental engineering, so the science is very awesome to me. But then throughout that whole time, the only constant in my life was the gym, right? And it all started because of where I came from. And it came to a point where I lost my job in engineering, right? And then I decided to really grow internally and decide what it is that I like, decide what I'm good at, decide what it is that's going to carry me to that next step of my life. And the only thing I could think about was exercise. And I was like, I need to teach people how to exercise. I need to talk about exercise. I need to talk about fitness. The reason why is because I feel just like maybe some of you have felt before. I know that feeling of looking in the mirror and not feeling like you're enough. I know that feeling of stepping outside of your house and knowing that there's judgment coming, knowing that, and maybe not, maybe it's just stories that you create in your head. And what happens is that that carries on to every other area of your life that you don't even see it.
And it does, though. We get stories of people that, they're 300-400 pounds, and how they feel when they get out of the car and they have to walk from their car to the grocery store door. And that alone is humiliating to them because all they're thinking is, everybody's looking at me.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And now you start to look at relationships, you start to look at finances and career and everything else in your life, and you start to feel non-deserving, you start to feel guilty, you start to feel shameful, and all these things that it's subconscious, and it really affects you. And the worst part about it and the best part about it is that it's a choice, right? Because here it is, right? I chose to eat all of that. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day.
Yeah, but you didn't know that food was bad for you because it was given to you.
But once you understand, right? Once you
Right.
understand, when you're a
Once
young
you get
kid,
it,
yeah.
yeah.
It's hard.
You didn't
But
know.
once you understand what's going on, which is like kind of when I started
Right,
to turn that corner,
right.
and where maybe a lot of you could potentially be, right? It seems like Mount Everest. It seems like the hardest hill to
Yeah,
overcome.
yeah.
But the thing is, once we start to realize that we have the power of choice and that we can hold ourselves accountable,
Right.
all you gotta do is take it one meal at a time. That's it. One
That's what I
meal
say.
Well,
at a
and
time.
what happened to you was you weren't depending on anybody to change your life.
No.
You said, if it's up to me, it's meant to be. I've got to do this on my own. Your parents were not educated in that.
Nope.
God bless them. They were working hard to supply,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And it was all about survival.
Yep.
But something happened to you that said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired and fat. I'm not going to do this anymore. You were 14 years old.
Do you want to know exactly what happened? Because I'm
What?
sure someone out there could relate to this. So
All right.
Okay, let's hear it.
in 8th grade, I wore the same pair of shorts and the same jacket every single day. And the reason why is because that was the pair of clothes that I felt the most comfortable in, right?
Okay. Mhm.
And same exact thing. And then we get to freshman year of high school, and my parents bought me some new clothes. And then I'm in the parking lot, and this girl goes, "Oh my God, finally you get some new clothes." And that was all it took.
Really?
And in that
Oh,
moment,
that
it
was
was
a
like
trigger.
everything was just like.
That's a God
whoa.
thing.
That's a God
Yeah.
thing.
That
That's
was a
divine
God thing.
intervention. right there.
Absolutely. And it was
Yeah.
just like, I'm tired of being
Trigger.
restricted on what to wear because of how I feel, because of who I am,
Right.
right? And then at that point, it was just like I was on fire. Then I was just like, nope, every single day, running, push-ups, sit-ups. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just doing it.
That's
I was
what
just
we,
going.
Yeah,
But you know
just
what? You
did
found-
activity. You just did
Yeah.
You
activity.
found what made you tick.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you knew you had to do it yourself.
Exactly.
And you were grabbing at straws, but you were doing it.
Yeah.
And that's your motivation. That means
Absolutely.
that your life is your own. You made your life, you
And-
made your choice. And I know what that's like, because when Flush Your Fat for Good came to me, that's what I was doing. I was walking around the house and I was saying, Lord, this fat's gonna have to get off me like yesterday. I'm done. I will never yo-yo again.
Oh.
I don't want to diet.
Yeah.
Okay, we've all
That's
seen what
the
happens
biggest
with
you
diets.
ever were.
Okay,
I never
and
saw you even pregnant.
It was
Yeah,
horrifying, and it
horrible.
was not me, because I was a dancer, gymnast, stuff
Yeah.
like this. But, and I know that feeling. It was triggered like
Yeah.
it was words from heaven.
Yes.
You need to hear this, because now that's your motivation. So now you become a professional trainer.
Correct.
Okay, and you've got clients, and you're working in
Correct.
2 different gyms. And Kathy, hey, shout out to Kathy.
Kathy's the
Kathy.
best. Kathy.
And she's
Bear
doing
wraps.
lymphatic body wrapping over there in Thousand
Westlake.
Oaks. Bear wraps. And you walk in, and she says, you got to do Flush Your Fat. Now you start incorporating Flush Your Fat,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So now you've got 2 things that are like, okay, I'm going to feed the cells, and I'm going to exercise the muscles
Yeah.
and bones. And how did that work for you?
So the thing I kept hearing was digestion,
Absorption,
right? Absorption and elimination.
Right.
So there was always an area of fat in my midsection that I could not get rid of. And for the life of me, I couldn't understand why, right? And as Kathy, we walked in there because I'm starting, the business there at M6, and, just mutual interest, so we could help each other out. And she said, okay, if you're going to do this, or if we're going to sell this, right, you need to check it out and see what you think. So I was like, okay. And literally up until that point in time in my life, I was just like, oh, well, this is just who I am. But I still feel, I'm still in shape. It'll be okay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, no, I can definitely help you out. Like, we can slim you up, this and that. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's check it out. So The first wrap, which was the extreme wrap, right? I'm sitting there, I'm like a burrito, and I'm like, oh, what is this? And then she rests me with the next one, and it's like, it's got this medicinal smell. I'm like, what is this? What am I doing? And then sure enough, we start talking about the nutrition, and then I get on the flusher fat, and then after that first wrap, I was like, oh, I feel better. After the second wrap, oh my God, I feel great. After the third wrap, I was like, okay, this is serious stuff, right? So then after there, we just eased off. We were doing 1 wrap a week, and slowly but surely, I think the biggest thing, there's so many things about it, but number one, right, is it introduced something that I had never brought to my body, and I felt so much better. Yes. The energy, the digestion, like I felt clean, right? I felt clean, which was the biggest thing. Yes. For a lot of you that maybe exercise, or the thing is as we continually eat poor foods or make poor food decisions like processed foods, we think that's the norm, but it's not. And then you don't know how much better you can feel by just switching how you eat, right? So she taught me about the nutrition. So 2 months go by. I dropped a total of 15 pounds, which for me was a lot. 15 pounds, I dropped, 6% body fat.
Wow.
Now I'm overall down since the beginning about 8% body fat.
Wow.
So in a span of 2 months, and here's the thing, right? It by no means was perfect. There was this first couple of weeks where a little bit of trial and error.
That's
28, 29 years old. I was going out, enjoying my drinks, and from time to time there was a little bit of slipping, but one thing I will encourage everyone out there to have is to have the right support group. Because without Kathy, this would have been very difficult. She was consistently texting me, just making sure I was okay. So find someone that can be that Kathy for you.
The buddy. You got to get a buddy.
Yeah.
So real quick, I'm looking at the time here, and I want people to know that something happened to you.
Yeah.
What was it?
So 2 months go by, right, and I'm feeling all great. I'm like, oh, I got a little bit of six-pack, and then all of a sudden, words get triggered. They're like, someone told me you look too skinny. And for me, I've always prided myself in my strength, right? Because it was always been the thing that I was always the best at. My strength, I'm strong, I'm big, right? And when I heard those words, it was like, whoa, like it was like a big...
It was a trigger.
It was a trigger. I was like, what am I doing? I'm like, I felt really, really good. But then at the same time, I was like, well, what's my perception of people? Am I too skinny? Like, do girls not like this? Like, what is it, right? And here's the thing is, ultimately, is you cannot let other people dictate how you feel.
That's right.
They don't want the life you have. You don't want the life they have. Why should they have an influence on the way you feel? As long as you feel good, that's all that should matter, right? And it's part of the process. And the thing that happened to me was like, okay, I stopped seeing Kathy for the wraps for 3-4 weeks, right? I kind of fell off my eating a little bit. And then sure enough, from November 1st to Thanksgiving, I puffed up. I probably put on like 5 or 7 pounds, not because I stopped the wraps, but because of what I was doing to myself. It was self-sabotage, right?
Right.
We're scared of being great because of the way we programmed ourselves. We're scared of what we could be.
Well,
right?
And they put a head trip on you.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
It's
now
definitely a head
you
trip.
lost your direction. You were not totally focused, and you
Yeah.
just were thinking everywhere else but what you should be doing in the first place.
Exactly.
And also with phase 1, that's where you lost the majority of your fat so that you could cut and carve. At that point, you can never get too skinny on this lifestyle because you're just eating all the time. But then we can go to phase 2, which is where we add the, sprouted whole grains. We teach you how to add your starches in healthy. And
Legumes
a
and
lot
all
of
that
the bodybuilders and things like that, my daughter goes to the gym. Even though she's pregnant, she's on phase 2 because she's pregnant. But also, she likes to really be on phase 2 because she loves yams and sprouted whole grains and things like this. And you cannot get too skinny. But that threw you off.
Exactly. And you can't let other people's opinions of you dictate, once again, how you feel, right? So within that, I was fortunate enough to once again have Kathy, who she saw me walking by. She pulled me in. She's like, hey, where you been? We kind of had that conversation. And one of the things that I've been really learning recently is how to break some of those old patterns that a lot of us have because of how we grew up, right? And this was a big stepping stone for me. And it could potentially happen to a lot of people out there. And you just have to understand that we're going to grow from this and we're going to get better.
Right.
And it's okay if it happens. It's not the end of the world. We don't have to jump ship. We just restart, get the support group back.
Words are powerful. Like we had at least one other buddy that I know that had that comment made, and that set
But
that
it's not
person
how
up.
many times you fall down, it's how many times you get up.
That's right.
Exactly.
And what builds character is how you step up to the plate.
Exactly.
So if you know what you want, and knowledge is power.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, we want to explain to everybody that Flush Your Fat for Good it's a lifestyle, and we have a blueprint for it. We want you to go to flushyourfatforgood.com, go into, check out the whole website, go to the store, which is where you will see our GLA and CLA. We're going to talk about these next week, because the GLA stimulates the brown fat to burn the white fat, and the CLA prevents the enlargement of fat cells, breaks them up, and also assists in building lean muscle mass. And this is great for tummy fat. But these are essential fatty acids that we've private labeled ourselves because we wanted a certain standard for these, for supplementation. And then you'll see Starter Kit 1 and Starter Kit 2, where you get, you'll get different charts and things like this to go by it. You'll get a food combining chart that you'll be able to understand how to put your foods together so that they're compatible, so that bloat in the stomach goes away and the fat is being burned up. And we have a coaching course. It's because knowledge is power, and that's your next venture, because the coaching course is something that's 7 modules. There's an exam after each one, and you get certified with all the knowledge that we've been 60 years combined putting together. And for our Power 100 Heroes, we have a Tuesday or Wednesday call that we send out to anybody that's a buddy, that's a member of our Flush Your Fat. We send out the day and time on Wednesday and the phone number so that you can join in if you're 100+ pounds, because these are special people and they have these head trips in which we have to work with them.
We have to address all that.
I think that the more and more we work with you, Rafael, and the more and more you can, we can work together on working out some exercises for these people, and you can come in, we can demonstrate, we can do a video.
We
I think
should
that'd
do a
be cool.
video.
Yeah.
Let's give his information out. How you want people to contact you.
You can contact me. You can contact me either via email, which is Coach Roth, COACH Roth 52@gmail.com. That's probably the best.
What's Roth? You mean RAF?
RAF, like Rafael.
Yeah,
And then my Instagram is Coach_Roth_Ed. That's my Instagram handle.
Okay, right on.
Yeah, and I just want to say one real quick thing.
Yeah.
If you are watching this right now, it is for a reason. This is not by mistake.
Amen.
And I'm going to tell you right now that if there's anyone that
goosebumps.
believes in you,
Yeah.
it's us right here.
Yes.
And I would not be talking to you if you weren't meant to join this journey. So if you're in the LA area, come see Kathy for the wraps. If you're watching this, you need this. You have to have it. Otherwise, you would not have stayed this long.
That's right.
And you can't go wrong eating right. So we just spend $15.95. Check it out. Look at it. We're all here for you. You have more than 2,000 buddies in the room. You have more than 100 coaches in our room.
And they'll answer any question that you have.
And you have us by PM. And
So want to thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Rafael, for coming
Thank
in
you,
and visiting with
Rafael.
us.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see you guys next week. God bless.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, let me find this thing.
The engineer.
Wait a minute. I can't find the
Are we looking for
cursor.
the button?
Yeah, the cursor.
There it is.